أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So we are starting a tough surah. It has 50 verses. Walaikum salam. It is again early Meccan revelation. I was reading years like fourth year of revelation, prophethood. So it's early, still early revelation. But in Meccan surah, in many of the surahs that we have studied, like there were verses, like short verses, say something, another word, another verse. Like we need to put a context to these verses. Otherwise, it's hard to see what it is saying. What I mean by that. So let me show you what the surah looks like. Let's read it once together. And then you will understand what I'm trying to say, inshallah. والمرسلات عرفا فالعاصفات عصفا والناشرات نشرا فالفارقات فرقا فالملقيات ذكرا عذرا أو نذرا. Consider these sent forth one after another, then violently storming, spreading far and wide, thus separating with clarity, and thus giving forth a reminder, excuses, or warnings. I put some interpretations in the translation, but otherwise it's very discrete words being put in there. But how am I going to put it into a context is a little challenging. إِنَّمَا تُوعَدُونَ لَوَاقِعٌ. Surely that which you are promised will happen. فَإِذَا النُّجُومُ طُمِسَتْ. So when the stars are put out. وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ فُرِجَتْ. And when the sky is riven asunder. وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ نُصِفَتْ. And when the mountains are blown away. وَإِذَا الرُّسُلُ أُقِّتَتْ. And when the messengers are brought unto their time appointed. لِأَيِّ يَوْمٍ أُجِّلَتْ. For what day is the time appointed? لِيَوْمِ الْفَصْلِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا يَوْمُ الْفَصْلِ. For the day of decision. And what will convey unto you what the day of decision is? وَيْلُ يَوْمِئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe unto the deniers on that day. I'll keep reading. أَلَمْ نُهْلِكِ الْأَوَّلِينَ. Did we not destroy the formal folk? ثُمَّ نُتْبِعُهُمُ الْآخِرِينَ. And then cause the latter folk to follow after. كَذَلِكَ نَفْعَلُ بِالْمُجْرِمِينَ. Thus we will deal with the guilty. وَيْلُ يَوْمِئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe unto the deniers on that day. أَلَمْ نُخْلِقكُم مِّن مَّاءٍ مَّهِينٍ. Did we not create you from a base fluid? فَجَعَلْنَاهُ فِي قَرَارٍ مَّكِينٍ. Which we laid up in a safe abode. إِلَى قَدَرٍ مَّعْلُومٍ. For a known term. فَقَدَرْنَا فَنِعْمَ الْقَادِرُونَ. Thus we determined. How excellent is our determining. وَيْلُ يَوْمِئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe unto the deniers on that day. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلِ الْأَرْضَ كِفَاتًا. Have we not made the earth a receptacle? أَحْيَاءً وَأَمْوَاتًا. Both for the living and the dead. وَجَعَلْنَا فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ شَامِخَاتٍ وَأَسْقَيْنَاكُمْ مَاءً فُرَاتًا. And placed therein high mountains, and given you to drink sweet water therein. وَيْلُ يَوْمِئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ. Woe unto the deniers on that day. انطلقوا إلى ما كنتم به تكذبون. So they will be said, depart unto that which you used to deny. انطلقوا إلى ظل ذي ثلاث شعاب. Depart unto the shadow falling threefold. لا ظليل ولا يغني من اللهب. nor relief nor shelter from the flame. إنها ترمي بشرر كالقصر. Lo, it throws up sparks like the castles. كأنه جمالة صفر. Or as it might be camels of bright yellow hue. Also translated as, or it might be like the robes of bright yellow hue. ويل يومئذ للمكذبين. Woe unto the deniers on that day. هذا يوم لا ينطقون. This is a day wherein they speak not. ولا يؤذن لهم فيعتذرون. Nor are they suffered to put forth excuses. So they're not allowed to put excuses. ويل يومئذ للمكذبين. Woe unto the deniers on that day. هذا يوم الفصل. This is the day of decision. جمعناكم والأولين. We have brought you and the men of old together. إن كان لكم كيد فيكيدون. If you have any wit, outwit me. ويل يومئذ للمكذبين. Woe unto the deniers on that day. إن المتقين في ظلال وعيون. Lo, those who kept their duty are amid shade and fountains. وفواكه مما يشتهون. And fruits such as they desire. كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما كنتم تعملون. Eat, drink, and welcome, O you blessed, in return for what you did. إنا كذلك نجزي المحسنين. Thus do we reward the good. ويل يومئذ للمكذبين. Woe unto the deniers on that day. كلوا وتمتعوا قليلا إنكم مجرمون. Eat and take your ease a little. Lo, you are guilty. ويل يومئذ للمكذبين. Woe unto the deniers on that day. وإذا قيل لهم اركعوا لا يركعون. When it is said unto them, bow down, they bow not down. ويل يومئذ للمكذبين. Woe unto the deniers on that day. فبأي حديث بعده يؤمنون. In what statement after this will they believe? And this is the surah. So Meccan surahs have this eloquence, like shorter sentences. Sentences are left half, and we need to put it into a certain context that Quran is expected to talk about, so that we fill in those gaps for our perception, for our understanding. So we see that in general, as it is the case with early revelation, afterlife and messengerhood and revelation, the message is a general theme, as Quran was coming with the early days. And hence, the surah opens up again with those words of oath. Wal-Mursalat urfa. Consider these sent forth one after another. So in many translations, this Wal-Mursalat urfa is translated as consider the winds that are sent one after the other. Fal-Asifat asfa is like a contrast to this, which is now referring to like hurricanes or strong storms. وَالنَّاشِرَاتِ نَشْرًا, spreading far and wide. Like, since many of the translations are taking the first verse as a wind, they follow up the third verse in the same light, saying that some winds which are like spreading the seeds and whatnot. So generally this is translated along the lines of Nashurat and Nashra as spreading the seeds and fruitfully rejuvenating the existence or the plants, is how many of the translations translate that. فَالْفَارِقَاتِ فَرْقًا, thus separating with clarity. فالملقيات ذكرى, and thus giving forth a reminder, عذرا أو نذرا, excuses or warnings. So this is, I would say, the bare bones translation would look as such. Now, let's start from there. Al-Mursalat, those that are sent or winds. Urfa, one after another. That's how it's translated. So my question is, what or who are sent one after the other?
Just to clarify, when you say those that are sent or winds, the ayah is those that are sent.
Winds is also a meaning of the word that they explain it. The translators explain it. But the word mursalat, like the same word with rasul or sending,
yes.
So risala. So this is why those that are sent is also inherent within the first meaning of the word itself. So what do you think? What is being sent? Again, let me quickly remind, I keep reminding this a lot with the Meccan surahs, but many of those surahs start with those words of oath. And again, our rule for words of oath are, something is going to be brought to my attention that I am not clear about. And the words of oath are there to support this unknown to me. So the words of oath should be, number one, self-evident. Number two, they are going to be used as an evidence for what follows. Because what follows is unknown to me, or I am not sure and secure about it. So Quran is using this word of oath. But since the word of oath is there, it itself shouldn't need truth. It should be self-evident. Otherwise, I will be trying to prove unknown with another unknown, which doesn't make any sense, right? So when it says, well, mursalat urfa, it should be something that is clearly knowable to me, that my creator is bringing it to my attention, saying that, oh, I'm going to tell you something, but it's going to be true because of wal mursalat urfa, those that are sent one after the other. So then at this moment, I should ask the question, what is it that are being sent one after the other? What's your take for that? What are being sent one after the other? Yes.
Instructions on how to live a good life.
Instructions on how to live a good life. So you mean messengers or what? What's an instruction? Anything?
Doesn't have to be this.
Okay, what is it? Be more specific.
Your experience.
Your experience.
And within the experience is a message.
Okay. Be a little more specific. No? Okay. Something that keeps coming is you're thirsty. Is this an instruction? Go and drink water.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Every time you pursue something that you shouldn't be pursuing, and have a thought process of like, this is the right thing, and then we're given that hope that no, this is wrong. And that can affect a lot of things in life. To get lost in situations and realize after something that I should not have been doing this. That's why the pursuit of money or a lot of things.
Okay, so since Abdullah speaks to himself, I will speak loudly. So things that are, like, say, I do something and then I feel good or bad about it. And this feeling of good or bad, like I did right or I did wrong, like this is coming from outside. Like I would like to feel nice by visiting somewhere, let's say, but then I feel bad about it, or vice versa. Like those uninvited feelings or thoughts are coming. So definitely coming from outside, and they keep coming. even if I would like to push them away. So that's something that are being sent to me. So inside this, if you like, humanness, I keep receiving those messages within the self. Let's call it inspiration or whatever we would like to call it. So I receive those messages. Yes.
Maybe it can it may open up. The Imam Nursi, after you mentioned that the word also may mean wind. Imam Nursi, where he talks about the winds, he says they are sent before the rain to give the message of the rain. So as a messenger, the winds being sent. He was obviously making the connection between the Arabic words as well. So maybe we can take it as anything that being sent to give the news of what is coming, like hereafter, for instance.
Very good. So there are some online comments. Let me read what they are saying. Okay, so Dua says Quran, verses of the Quran. So the revelation. Revelation is another type of message, external message that comes from my maker for addressing my needs of what am I up to in here. Okay, so far, what did we have? One is those messages that I found within myself. And then another one is revelation. So Atik's answer could cut both ways. So it could be what Abdullah was referring to. But can we also expand it a little more in the sense that events in life are happening outside? Like an earthquake is happening, or spring is happening, or I don't know, a war is happening, or a newborn baby is coming. So like the existence is happening and it keeps coming. The existence is not staying still. It's coming from somewhere. Like where does spring come from? It's a new being, which no trace of it is left outside. But 4 or 5 months later, we will see that a new spring will come. Where does it come from? So somebody is sending us, is going to send us new flowers first, then new leaves, then new fruits, and everything is going to be sent. And anything in your life, like for this gentleman, white hair is being sent. Like it's coming and he was there. Okay. So, but yeah, something else is being spread away, like the wind is taking away hair, for example. Another thing. So events in life, okay, this is a third thing then. We can take this as like wind can also then represent, and I think when we were talking about mountainous waves for Nuh alayhi salam's story, for example. So the mountainous waves were like the waves in life. The events of life are like waves. Things are going up and down. So likewise, I guess in this sense, wind can be taken as the material things that's happening to us. Anything else that are being sent?
You mentioned revelation.
Revelation, humans' feelings from within.
Or let's say anything about nefs, a human.
Yeah. And the third one is the events that are happening outside, the existence outside and the existence within. So I wanted to separate the two.
I think what I remember one would see in that form, but also discovery religion. When we talk about the existence, you may talk about the existence itself, like the tree, bird, and so forth, all of them carrying the message. But then there are some events that happens, like let's say a destruction of a country. Something happens to humanity as a whole, or something happens like what's happening in Gaza. you can take it as another book
Mm.
to be read.
Mhm.
So existence as it is, or events as they happen,
Okay.
they can be taken as two different messages, two different books.
Okay, good. Alhamdulillah.
Like a general anything that we sent from the original.
Anything that's sent. Okay, and in here, since it says Mursalat, so I guess we are at the recipient end of it. So still, we don't know where it is coming from, but recognizing that they are being sent. So when the verse starts by saying wal mursalat, so things that are being sent one after the other, like it should feel like if I were receiving, I don't know, in here it happens that we ignore a lot, but spam calls. Like you receive getting calls one after the other. And I mean, in this case, we are getting annoyed. But imagine you were getting death threats and it keeps coming one after the other. And I say, those that are sent. So immediately would say, yeah, I guess you're talking about those death threats that are happening. Or let's say every morning, as you're walking out of your house, you see a rose in your postbox. It's being put there because last night you take it away, in the morning another one. You take it away, another one. So, those that are sent, because something is being sent and it's in my world, it occupies a big part of my world. Who is sending it? But the moment it says things that are being sent one after the other, I should say, oh, he's talking about that. Definitely, this was part of my, this is what I have been thinking about for a while. I was trying to understand what's going on. So then I should, when Quran attracts my attention, wal mursalat, I should question the things that I have been taking for granted. Events happening in life, are they happening randomly? Are they happening by chance? Or are they being sent? Let's even talk about winds. Are winds happening by chance? Because it looks very like when creationists, for example, talk about evolution, the example that's given is a wind comes, like if we put bricks, water, cement, and everything together, and a wind comes and it mixes it, can it make a building? This is generally the example. So the reason wind is being given in there is as if wind is happening as a random event in life.
Doesn't have any purposeful.
Yeah, and no purpose, no nothing. It's just happens by itself. And since it happens by itself, it's not necessarily sent. It just comes as if randomness. But is it really? Are winds random? What do we think? Can we say that winds are random, for instance? Or are they sent? Because we can ask the same question about currents in life. I'm generalizing the word wind to currents. Political currents. Oh, nationalism is in the rise. This is not a current. It's just purposelessly, somehow it's just growing, and then whatever comes before it, it just sweeps it away. Like all those winds, or if you like, wind of time, because existence is coming into being as if like a flood or a very strong wind and sweeps away whatever is before it. Are they being sent or do they just come? Do I receive those death threats? I mean, death threats, of course, they come. What else do you expect from them? Of course they will come, do I say? Or if I start having death threats 1, 2, 3, 4, if you see something, say something, call the police. What happens? Yes.
Implicitly have a negative connotation, violently stormy. What if that's not our experience?
Okay, so then this is going to be the second one, because the first one is saying it is being sent. And then violently storming is like as if this is different than, I was going to ask another question before this, but since you pulled it up. So now it is raging hurricanes and violent storms. So what are these and how do they compare with Mursalat? Because it looks like Mursalat was talking about, if we take the wind meaning of it, it was coming like winds. But then there are also storms that are coming and bending and like breaking things. So if one is wind, the other one's a storm. So what are they? Still, we are going to ask that question. But going back to my first question, before coming to our sifat, winds, are winds random? What do you think? Let's really think about it. When it winds, and it's a windy day today, when we step out and wind comes to my face, am I going to feel like my creator is as if, like metaphorically speaking, caressing my face with the wind? Like he is sending this wind, or is it just a natural phenomena that happens because hot air, cold air, like the pressure difference, air pressure, and then air molecules are moving from one place to another, hence wind. The second one, it's a natural phenomena, right? It just happens by itself. We expect it to happen. I mean, what else would happen, right? If one part is hot, the other one is cold, of course, pressure changes. Of course, air will flow. Of course, you will feel wind. What else?
That's interesting. You could take the same things, like you can still keep talking about the pressure differences or hot versus cold and so on. And you can take them as Mursalat as well. Like right before creating wind, creator always sends down the Mursalat of the cold and hot air, giving us the news that he will create wind. So any apparent causal relationship actually can be read as Mursalat being sent again and again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes, Sister Zarina, have a comment.
I was just gonna share kind of what I experienced when I just like walked to my workplace today, like when I stepped outside and felt the wind. I guess I wasn't really thinking about, oh, this is happening because of the pressure differences either. So I don't know if I would say I would automatically jump to the second sort of like understanding of like how wind is happening, but rather I think it was more so for me a feeling of awe, like this is something like different and amazing, like after all these days of kind of like nice weather, still like sunny, but now suddenly there's this wind and all the leaves are blowing around too. So it did feel like there was some news, and we have been experiencing a lot of like days without rain too. So I guess it does feel like there's a message there that might be like different what I've been experiencing day to day, like in the.
And can we talk about the purpose? Like, can we look at the wind to see whether it's really random or not by simply looking at the benefits of wind? Because we are in need of rain. Wind is being used for transporting rain from long distances to here. Because wind is being mentioned quite a bit in Quran. Actually, it's being mentioned as a sort of a strength bestowed upon a prophet, like Sulaiman alayhi salam. Like the Creator says, I gave it to his service. Like, what do you mean, God? It was already there. It was already random. No, the Creator says, I gave it to his service, and he is being mentioned as a king. So it is as if saying that I gave FedEx Air to the service of Mustafa. Like FedEx Air is a good portion of, I guess, FedEx's business of carrying stuff over the clouds. And one purpose of wind is to distribute rain across the land. And it's doing it in a purposeful manner, so much so that we can even estimate, like the meteorology. Okay, sounds good. So we can even come up with a consistent pattern of how it behaves. Like if it was random and pointless and aimless, we wouldn't be able to come up with any order, any pattern in there. It is coming within an order, within a wisdom. So it's useful. Usefulness means somebody must be following a purpose behind it. Like as a human being, this is our basic conclusion. Like today, if you go to your house and see that the door is broken, and then you get into the house and see that your valuables are not there, but everything else is there, what would you say? Like a purpose is observed, so it must be someone who is knowing what's valuable, what's not valuable, and took away the valuables and left the non-valuables. Like whenever you see this sort of a wisdom, you see that it's not like there's something behind it. So when I look at wind, even if I just look at one purpose of it, rain is being carried, and it's so valuable for the life, can I say that it's happening randomly? Number two, it's happening within a wisdom, within an order. So can it really happen randomly? Means without an agent that doesn't have any purpose. But when it comes to wind, this is why they're going to, like many translators are, when nashurat nashra, when they explain nashurat nashra. So they're also talking about rejuvenation of earth, because in this case, this points to another purpose of wind, which is how the plants are, reproducing. Like wind is carrying the pollens from one flower to another flower. Like without wind, we are not going to have next summer. Like spring will be there, but no fruits in the summer. So the entire animal kingdom is really relying on this service of wind, which is carrying one pollen from one flower to another. So these are the things that we take so much for granted and even name it as random. Yet, can it really happen by itself, or those winds are being sent? Once I see this in wind, in the outside world, then I can ask, as what Brother Birkan was saying, events in the existence, let's generalize it to any event in existence, like the waves of existence, then generalize it to events that are happening. Are they just aimlessly happening? Wars or successes? Like current of events in human kingdom. Is this happening randomly, or they are being sent? Because sometimes we fell into this thought that it's really hard to predict what's going to happen 5-10 years from now. Is it going to be World War III? Is it going to be climate change? Is it going, so many parameters? So it looks like as if it's happening randomly. Or are the events also being sent, although humans have their own wills when making their choices? But are the things in this existence happening randomly? There's the word urfa. So I'm going to talk about this urfa from another point. Urfa means one after another, but the word itself has also a connotation of familiarity, like urf. So, Al-Mursalat urfa then should also mean that things are being sent, but they're very familiar to you. I am not talking about once in a lifetime events. The things that are coming are very familiar to you. Like Earth is like, I don't know, in this society, wearing like this is against the Earth, like Atik, but wearing like this is the Earth. This is the norm. So it's something that's familiar. And now things are coming to me and they are familiar to me.
Is it the same root also for Arif?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it also implies that being known as well.
Yeah. This is where the Earth, like something that's widely known, that's common. So you know it. You know it for sure. So it's not talking about, as if the creator is saying that I'm not talking about something that's alien to you. I'm talking to you something that's very familiar. So I guess it makes sense if I read it for those feelings that are within, or the events that are happening outside, or as Dua was mentioning, revelation. How is revelation familiar to me?
It describes our experience.
It describes me, my experience. It's something that's not alien to me. It's confirmable. It's telling me about myself. Like what if now I take Mursalat as the revelation, whatever revelation says is happening right here in me and in the environment that I am living in. So it is familiar, perfectly familiar and perfectly relatable. One of the things that for Mursalat, it's also prophets, messengers, like Rasul or Nabi. Rasul is messenger who comes with a message. Nabi is a messenger who is reminding message of another Rasul. But in both cases, people come one after another, or they're being sent. They didn't come by themselves, but they are being sent. And also I do see them. Quran uses the term Rasul for angels as well. Like this is going to be the fifth meaning that we can talk about for Mursalat. It says angels with one wing, 2 wings, 3 wings, like with 2 wings, 3 wings, 4 wings. So angels are another Mursalat that keeps being sent. Is this part of my reality? What do you think? Do you notice angels being sent to you, one after the other? Or angels are only sent to messengers?
Well, given messages, so they must be carried by something.
Right. So I am receiving those messages. What do we mean? As our example, when we were talking about angels before, we said that there's this picture over there. So my materialist side would just take it as, I mean, it's just an ink and paper, that's it. But my other side, my human side would say that, no, there is more than a ink and a paper here. There is another entity, another existence, a message which is happening in there. So the means of this communication, if you like, the spirit, let's call it this way, with which me as individual in here is interacting with, is going to be the angels. And the whole existence is, from the whole existence, I keep communicating with the source of this existence through such messengers. When I see a rose, I receive the message of love. When I see sunrise, I see the message of sustenance, enlightenment. So these are another aspect of Mursalat. And these are all things that are familiar to me. So now let's come to Asifat. Anything else you would like to add about Mursalat, Urfa? Well, Asifati asfa. So then violently storming. So how about this one? What do you think? So Atik was asking why it is about storms. Any idea? What are those storms?
Gives you a proper shape back.
Gives you a proper shake. Sometimes it happens that I do not notice those winds, like small and gentle winds, which are serving. But then also in life happens that there are those storms that come. In material existence, there are storms, as a hurricane happened in Florida, but also in my life, like strong shakes are happening. So really shaking me. Well, contrasting with this mild and fruitful winds with those destructive, shaking storms in life. وَالنَّاشِرَاتِ نَشْرًا, spreading far and wide. So far and wide. What is being spread? Message is being spread. So they come, those that are sent is coming and spreading wide and far.
It's not a unique, necessarily a unique message to one person. You know, something that can be agreed. I don't know.
Good. So it's not specific to one, it's relatable to everybody. This is why the message gets spread. So if we go with, let's go with the first 5 that we mentioned and see how it's spreading. So if it is revelation, if we think about revelation comes and spreads among humanity because it's relatable, because it is useful for human. So this is why people would like to share it with others. But there's this spreading in message. Winds are spreading for sure. Events are spreading if we read it as events in life. What else? Messengers. Do they see them spread? وَالنَّاشِرَاتِ نَشْرًا. And I guess another meaning for nashr could be spreading the message, yes. So in my life, this message is being spread, reminded, put before my eyes. So I'm not left alone in this case.
Is it only in Turkish that it's used for
Publication?
Publishing house? Or is it in the Arabic?
Probably, it should be in Arabic as well, I guess. Publication. Publishing house.
Publishing house. Actually, in Turkish, we use it for publishing house because it's delivered flexibly.
It's Arabic as well, yeah. It's like
So distributor, publishing house. وَالنَّاشِرَاتِ نَشْرًا, spreading far and wide. So these are the things that are, and if I take spreading far and wide within myself, if I keep listening to these, they can spread the truth to all the depths of my being. Like as a human, I have very deep corners. As huge the outside world is, human is seemingly very tiny. But if you carefully think about yourself, human has so many deep corners. You're realizing some aspect of yourself which you have never noticed before. Like maybe you thought you were a very kind, patient, this and that type of a person. A new life event happens, and a new aspect of yourself is being introduced to you. Human is such a complicated creature, but these messages or the life events that keep happening one after the other is spreading it far and wide to all corners of human. So in this case, what should I do? Inspect introspectively. what am I? Are those events that are happening, or are those winds? Are those messages and messengers? How deep do they, there should be a word for that. Nufuz, like penetrate. Yes, thank you. How deep those messages penetrate into my being. Because, I mean, this is how I used to feel about Quran. I read a few verses, as this surah, for example, it kept repeating وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ so many times. It's talking about sun happening like this, world being like that, and whatnot, as being done in other surah. So I'm feeling like since I couldn't, in one read, I couldn't make sense of it. So in order not to break it, let's not ask questions about it, because it feels like it's not too deep or whatever. So yes, I'm a believer. Scholars would know about it, but escape from it. Because I was so superficial in this space. Actually, I was considering myself very superficial. I was not opening up to the message. Now I am talking about the revelation in this case, that it can penetrate so deep and wide within myself. Because I have to ask the question, I need to put myself as the context of the surah. I am the context of this speech in general. So every verse is going to be, I'm expecting my maker to really talk about all the side streets and corners of my existence. So when nashrat nashra, and sometimes if I carefully read Revelation, I will realize that my maker is really closer to me than my jugular vein, and talking about so tiny feelings in me that it makes me get really shaken, saying that, oh, this thought that I had passed from my heart, it is being heard. And this is how Surah, what was it? God heard the complaint of a woman, Mujadala, Surah Mujadala. Like a woman is arguing with her husband. قَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّتِي تُجَادِلُ. So something that's happening in between two people. Nobody hears it, but the Creator hears it. Like a family, there's unhappiness within a family. And sometimes it's not being spoken, like unhappiness in the family. Many of the times it is just a silence in the house. Like no love is being manifest, but there's a silence in the house. But this silence is shouting out. The Creator hears this silence. And just imagine yourself, tomorrow morning, a revelation comes about you saying that God heard your complaint deep in your heart. So, nashurat, so widely spreading in all your being, this message is spreading so deep. It's not a superficial message. Actually, it is spreading all your ways, if you like, so deep into me. So I should open myself to revelation in this case. فَالْفَارِقَاتِ فَارْقًا. Yes.
Another way to look at it is the butterfly effect, where we say that everything and everyone is connected to each other, where if one person does a good deed, it somehow affects other people and spreads. If you do a good to your children, look at you and see that this is the right path. Or let's say you learn from the message and then corrected your ways. And once you corrected your ways, it spread without you actively trying. It was like a message that other people were the saw. Okay, this person is doing something that looks right.
I mean, that's a good point. Let's think about it. Butterfly effect. So you do a small thing, and as a consequence, a way disproportionately large effects spread. So what can we say about this in this context? Because generally it is as if being presented as a butterfly, innocent butterfly, just not knowing anything is causing a hurricane in the other side of the earth. Like this, more so in the context that it's being explained as a super random event with small events having a super large consequences and whatnot, but spreading so wide. Again, can I say that these are events that are happening randomly? Or considering how those events are happening, and it's beyond the control of a butterfly, yet the outcomes are purposeful, should I say that it's not what butterfly meant? So it's not the act of butterfly either. Butterfly is just willing or wishing to fly. Flying is being created for butterfly. The wind of wing in the butterfly is being created. Everything is being made by someone who spreads this message in there. So seeing this is important because otherwise, as Mustafa was saying, we tend to feel like, I mean, of course, hot air, cold air, I mean, there would happen, pressure change and wind. What do you expect? What else do you expect? As if it's a natural consequence of it. Or is it just cascaded effects of these wind just keeps growing and growing out of control? Which eventually, since this becomes my worldview, then when I see social events that are having like a snowball effect, let's call it this way since they use such stuff, it's just random, like Arab Spring, some event that happened and many people died for nothing and they're done and we are back to our old days of, I don't know, however the Middle East used to be ruled. So what is happening in here? Are they random events or they are being given or they are being sent by a wise maker? فَالْفَارِقَاتِ فَرْقًا, thus separating with clarity. What's being separated? Like in here, I said right and wrong. But these cascaded verses now, those that are sent, sometimes like a wind, but sometimes like a storm, and they spread wide and far, and therefore separate right from wrong. But it's a clarity, like this, using, I mean, the same pattern is being used, nashurat and nashra. This is why, although it's the same word, but in the language, it says far and wide. It's spread, but with such a spread. Like it is fariqat, it's separation, but farqan, such a separation. So this is why it's translated as separating with clarity. It's so day and night, sort of a clear distinction. So what is this day and night clarity? We can, again, talk about the same for all the 5 that we mentioned in the intro for 5 or 6 that we mentioned in the intro for those that are sent.
Maybe if we had a moral dilemma, that matter might be made clear through, us receiving and appreciating the message.
So I have a dilemma in life, and then the message comes and separates it. Which message? Like which sent? Those that are sent, because they are going to make the separation. So, like your moral dilemma, give an example. Ati, be more precise. Okay, your life is so one-dimensional, man. It's all because of this Corolla.
That's not a dilemma.
It's not even a dilemma. It's just a single car.
It's not Subaru dilemma.
Oh, Subaru dilemma. I don't know that. Okay.
And it's like that success and failure, evil and good, right and wrong. Like there is a distinction between them. If we think, I like to think about it like with the angels, like example. I think that you said like angels, like the things that we perceive with meaning, like this is the meaning. So in all these situations, you have different feelings. So, I like to think of
Okay. So, yes.
Found this verse kind of interesting for when I'm thinking about like today, because I feel like there's so much emphasis on finding sort of like middle ground with like people in different like ideas or ideology
Where is the emphasis? Sorry.
on like finding middle ground.
The
Instead of, like,
intersectionality.
In today's world.
Oh, in today's world. Okay. Yeah.
today, like, I feel like this is an important reminder because I feel like we're trending towards like trying to compromise just so like the idea of compromise is connected with like the coherent like society, which it is in like some cases, but I feel like sometimes that separation isn't as like clear anymore. So I feel like that's something I struggle with a lot is like when is it like how can I tell if this is like a clear separation or is there some like gray area that I should be like considering? So I guess maybe I don't really know how. I guess the idea is that the revelation should help me see that distinction. I can't really think of an example or an instance.
Yeah, I mean, yes, in today's world, truth is almost dead. Like everybody is right, or at least this is how I am expected to believe in, although practically it never is. Like certain people are more right than the others, as 1984 concludes, like everybody is equal, some are more equal than the others. So everybody is correct, is at least apparently what is expected me to accept within today's norms, which evaporates the truth. But in reality, is this what I am? Because as Abdullah was at the beginning mentioning, I am disturbed by certain things. Like I have those disturbing feelings. I do something, there's guilt, and then I do something else. I feel like this was a good event. So there's this good and bad is always there. And as a consequence of it, I would like to know what is right, what is wrong. And Quran is coming out and saying that I am Furqan, so distinguisher or separator. So how come Quran is separating right and wrong? Because Quran is using very clear terms, like it talks about hell, it talks about paradise, very graphic images of hell, very beautiful depiction of paradise. Like, so in my world, how is this really happening? How it is? Like, is the truth really this black and white? Or can it become that black and white in my world? Thus separating. So then if I follow with the sort of interpretation that I put in between the lines, consider these messages sent forth, messages and messengers sent forth one after another. Human messengers, revelation, inspiration, all those messages that are being sent. Sometimes as a wind, sometimes as a violent storm, spreading truth far and wide within myself to deepest corners of my life, my existence, my humanity, thus separating right and wrong with clarity. Like, to the extent that I pay attention to those, then truth will start becoming clear to me. Then depictions of hell and depictions of paradise will start making sense to me within myself, here and now, starting here and now. Eventually telling me about where I am bound to go. But even here and now, it's going to clearly tell me that those feelings are bringing, if you like, the mist or the soft spring wind from paradise sometimes in life, or sometimes they're going to bring the burning wind of hell to me. Because meaninglessness is this sort of a hell that I experience right here, or darkness, or light is going to be brought by, again, by the wind. So this is going to help me distinguish right from wrong. فالفارقات فرقا فالملقيات ذكرى, and thus giving forth a reminder, عذرا أو نذرا. As excuse or warning. But here, by cheating from Dr. Ali, I take it as ending excuses and giving warnings. So, فَالْمُلْقِيَاتِ ذِكْرًا أُذْرًا أَوْ نُذْرًا. And I think the reason that udhran in here put as ending excuses is later in the surah, it's going to talk about saying that there is what excuse is left to you. As this message comes, as these constant reminders keep coming, it's going to remove any possible excuse that I can come up with. And it's a warning to me. And I will conclude with the next verse. Any comments from here?
Didn't get that in the excuse part.
Ending excuses. So udhran is excuses or warnings. So it's bringing a reminder of, so taking, giving forth a reminder for excuses. Like it's not reminding me of, oh, I can come up with excuse. Because so far what we have talked about is all a reminder. So it should be somewhat to remove those excuses, not to, oh, I can use this excuse. This is the message that comes. No, it is a message. It is there to remove those excuses that I come up with, and as a warning. Nuzra. Because events or messages, as we talked about, all different flavors of messengers or messages so far, they are there to remind me or to remove away those excuses that I come up with, and then give me warnings. And inshallah, we'll conclude with this verse. إِنَّمَا تُوعَدُونَ لَوَاقِعٌ. Now, the first 6 verses were the words of oath to set the stage for this verse. إِنَّمَا تُوعَدُونَ لَوَاقِعٌ. Surely that which you're promised will happen, or is bound to happen.
You may want to study this together with the others as well.
Okay.
Don't exhaust everything that you will say about the violence and keep.
Okay. Yeah, I will ask to you. I will not say much. What am I promised? That indeed, based on all the previous verses, now I should be sure that indeed they will be, they will happen. So 2 questions then comes here. What is it that I am promised? And number 2, is the previous verses supporting this fact that definitely they are going to happen?
For next week or for right now?
Shall we pause here?
I'll just mention this because of the,
The rest?
like, yeah, because of.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long surah, so 50 verses. Although verses are short, but 50 verses. So we'll have to.
But from the beginning, we've been telling that we receive some messages guiding us, separating right and wrong clearly. I guess the emphasis clearly is so important there because especially as Sister Zevin said, in our time and age, the separation is not clear at all. So separating it clearly and then coming as a warning, it already pointing out a final goal they are serving. And otherwise, it would be just like a playing, a childish play, a robot trying to do something and you just keep correcting without any purpose, like playing with it. But we see that life is not that way. So all these warnings, all these corrections, the guidance pointing to a final goal, destiny.
So, like if I were to then give as an example, students at the beginning of the term, teacher comes out and tells, these are the syllabus, and this is what you're going to see. These are week by week what you're going to learn, and those classes will keep coming. Assignments will keep coming. Midterm will keep coming. Final will keep coming. And as a consequence of this, if you do well, I'm going to give you A, B, C, D, F. And here are the scale of the letters. And then the term starts, really classes keep coming. Really TA hours, office hours, midterm, everything keeps coming to distinguish you that, well, this guy is serious. Like he's not simply just showing up and threatening us or offering us good or bad. Based on all these, like the promises from written text in the syllabus, teacher coming and warning again and again, every week consistently lectures keep happening, assignments keep happening, feedback keep coming, like grades are also being published, and you receive feedback right away once you submit an assignment. And then I say, well, maybe they're not going to give me a letter grade. Like everything that happens so far in a class is a testimony that indeed you're going to be held accountable for this whole education. There's a point that this education is being given to you. This is not a toy. This is not a simple game. Something very serious is going on in here. And the evidence for that is that constantly those messages and messengers kept coming to you to clarify to you that I'm not joking, to clarify that things are, what's at stake is very high. And I am serious about it. All of these, if I now read it in the light of the previous verses, there shouldn't be any excuse for you anymore. Look, I told you the lectures, assignments, everything I give you to remove these excuses. And as a warning, إِنَّمَا تُوعَدُونَ لَوَاقِعٌ. Indeed, whatever you promised is going to happen. And in this life, if I'm living needlessly, not paying attention to anything other than, I don't know, my career or my daily joys or my, small daily issues and whatnot, and feeling like, pay attention to the life and see how indeed it will happen, whatever I am promised. So inshallah, let's start from here. Comments?
Would you say even in this life, the promised things will happen, like the consequences of making the wrong decisions or the benefits of doing the big deeds?
That is happening right away as well, right? Like if I do a wrong choice, immediately I am being punished in this life as well with the fire that burns. Like let's say I just say, well, what's wrong with me enjoying myself, man? Like, why is God creating the whole universe? What's wrong with me doing this small thing by myself? Okay, God has his own circle, his own sphere of creation, and me, I am here, just very insignificant of a creation. What if I go and entertain myself this way, that way? The moment this joy, my connection with the joy finishes, pain of separation kicks in, immediately saying that indeed, I promised you that I will punish you, and here is the punishment of pain of separation is there. Joy was a few seconds, a few minutes, but the pain of separation is right there. So immediately punishment is there. So yes, it's right in here. إِنَّمَا تُوعَدُونَ لَوَاقِعٌ. So indeed, whatever you're promised is bound to happen for sure in this life as well. Very good. Jazakallah khair.
There's no makeup exam.
No makeup.
There might be a curve, but you might not need it.
That's not the case as well. Very beautiful points actually, because when Quran describes people of hell, such excuses always there. Oh, give me a second chance. If I go back to earth, this time I'm going to do well.
There's also, I followed those folks. It was because of them, like a curve. I followed them.
Yeah. And what else was there? Like all those excuses are actually explained in Quran, which is describing us pretty much. Oh, only a counted number of days will we burn in hell. Like, I mean, we are paying the tuition. Eventually, they will give us the degree anyways. They cannot expel us. Like, these are the mentalities that we are in. The Quran is explaining it and saying that, no. Very interesting. So, inshallah, let's continue from here next week. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.